Rob is asking, when discussing the problems with Islamic scripture, how do you respond to people who say that it's just a matter of how you interpret it? Then it's useless, right? If there's a okay, so the worst you could say about Quran or Hadith, Islamic scripture in general, is that it means exactly what it says it means, right? Like it's basically what it sounds like it's saying, it's actually saying those things. Okay? And if that's the case, then it's horrific. Okay? That's the worst. The worst you could say about it is that you have to take it seriously. You have to take it by its own words, right? It's just plainly saying in black and white to beat your wife, to take slaves in war, to kill apostates, and it just means what it sounds like. Okay? And if that's the case, then holy crap, these books are violent and inhuman, right? The best you could say about it is that it doesn't actually mean the things that it seems like it means, right? That anybody could just take this text and just go with whatever they feel like. And like, hey, if it says beat your wife, it means like, I don't know, tickle her with a feather, okay? When you know, or just be even nicer to her. Oh, no, actually means walk towards her. Apparently, some people are translating as Rabahunna as walk towards her, as if that makes any sense. It doesn't make any grammatical sense. It doesn't make any logical sense. It doesn't make any sense given the like within the context of the verse, within the context of other hadiths. From any perspective that you look at it, it doesn't make any sense. But hey, let's just why not? Okay, it means like it's not. Let's just go with like somebody could read this as beat your wife, but you could also like say like, oh no, it means walk towards her. Okay, even though it makes absolutely no sense if you read it like that. But if you just want to go like willy nilly and like just like, hey, let's everybody could just decide what this means on their own, and the underlying text make it as irrelevant as you could possibly make it, then the best thing you could say about it is that it's the most useless text in the world. If I write on this piece of paper an instruction, and I could have an interpretation, and you could have an interpretation, and every other person could have their own interpretation, then what's the point of the goddamn text? Is like it's useless. Okay, so you're saying your defense of Islamic scripture is that it's not violent, that it's not anti-woman, that it's not anti-LGBT, that it's not anti-science, that it's not anti-skepticism, that is not anti-freedom. Your defense is that it's useless. It's nothing. It's just whatever you want it to mean. It's a matter of interpretation. Okay, and also, if it's a matter of interpretation, then doesn't that make it still extremely dangerous? So you're saying, if you're saying it's a matter of interpretation, then you're saying like ISIS's interpretation is as valid as someone else's interpretation that says like, oh yeah, Islam is pro-woman, pro-LGBT, pro-peace. Okay, so if it's just a matter of interpretation, then the ISIS interpretation is also correct, as valid. So all of a sudden you have a text that is supposed to be a divine revelation of God, and it's a matter of interpretation. Well, then this is a very useful tool for destruction, because all of a sudden all sorts of interpretation will have the authority and the legitimacy of a revelation from God, from the creator of the universe himself. How is that not a dangerous weapon? Like, oh yeah, you could make of it as whatever you want. You could interpret it in any way you want, and then also put the backing of the creator of the universe being on your side because you interpreted it that way. So even in the most charitable way of looking at Islamic scripture is still extremely dangerous. It's either very useless or extremely dangerous. Like, still. Susanna saying Armin's takedown of scripture still brings a smile to my face. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Let me see if there's any other new chat. This is really difficult without Susanna here. Yeah, Dia saying yes, the divine justification for anything. Exactly. Yeah, so Qasim saying you could interpret Zarabo, which is hit. You could interpret that as maybe French kissing them. Sure, why not? Right? You could, if it's just a matter of interpretation, why not? How about if I interpret the Quranic verse that says beat your wife if they're disobedient, if everything else fails? I want to interpret that as have anal sex with them. Is that okay? I mean, that's a lot of that's an improvement, but I wonder what the Ummah is going to think about that. Like, if everybody could come up with their own interpretation, I'm just going to do that. I think that would be an improvement. Consensually, by the way. My version, I mean consensually, okay? Honestly, oh my god. Okay. Oh, Dia saying for F's sakes, you are not an Arabic scholar. Well, this question is saying it's just a matter of interpretation. So it's anyone's interpretation. Was the Quran a revelation to mankind, or was the Quran a revelation to scholars? Did God send a revelation? Wasn't the point of sending a revelation to somebody that couldn't even read or write to show that this is a book for everybody, even the unlearned? Like, if this is a book that only the scholars can interpret, what kind of a revelation is that? This is like, is God like promoting elitism? If you want to send the book for mankind, make it something that is accessible to everybody. It says it in the book that it's a clear book for everybody. So if a lot of some Muslims claim like, hey, you're not a scholar, like, what a useless the creator of the universe could not send out a communication tool, like use a communication mechanism that is accessible to all. We need like scholars to be able to come tell us what this means.
Hey guys, if you want to join these streams live, get your comments and questions read by Ali and Armin and the guests, and most importantly, to get full access to the full video versions of all these episodes, become a patron. Link in the description below.